Live, this is Senate Appropriations, Tuesday, February 11th. We are talking about the Budget Adjustment Act of fiscal year 25, and we're honored to have Representative Shai, the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, give us a walkthrough of some sort of what the House did with the governor's budget adjustment recommendations.
Great,
Sound
thank
good?
you. Absolutely. So,
Do you know everybody here? Do you want us to introduce her?
I think I know everybody is. One of them sat next to me last year.
Yeah.
Know him pretty well.
Yeah.
So Robin Shai from Chair of House Appropriations and from Middlebury. Thank you for inviting me. I know you've got Emily Byrne from JFO coming to go over the specifics and more of the details of the numbers. I will not read you my floor report, but I will reference it as I talk about it because I think that will help. So in general, we agreed with virtually 99% of what the governor recommended in his budget adjustment proposal,
Is that dollar percentage or?
Well, for dollar percentage, we affected 0.7% of general fund dollars and 0.17% of the total budget from all funds. So literally, we financially with over 99% of the budget adjustment act. I did do that math. In case anybody asked, so thank you for asking. So a lot of the budget adjustment and the recommended changes on the part of the governor had to do with housekeeping, transferring positions or grants from one department to another, cleaning up or clarifying language. 2 special funds were closed out due to a lack of use. One was wet funds at the Department of Labor that hadn't been used for a long time, and there was $2.5 million in there, and then about $1,500 in a traumatic brain injury fund, special fund. So those were closed out. In a couple of instances, additional allowable uses were added to an appropriation. For example, there was $50 million in FEMA that was expanding some allowable uses that were FEMA related, and the $11.8 million in the ERP, the HR and Finance and Management IT project that won't go away, but they've added some HR pieces to that. We also trued up different accounts. There were caseload and utilization adjustments to various Medicaid programs and also to child care. One of the things that we learned was with regard to Medicaid cases that in general, caseload numbers were level or down, but utilization was way up. And that's what seemed to cause a lot of the issues. In the human services, healthcare and human services in the B300 section, particularly in the Dale budget, there are a lot of issues related to needing nursing homes needing extraordinary financial relief and Medicaid bed day adjustments. So there were some big items that the governor put in: $21 million for extraordinary fiscal relief for nursing homes who were struggling financially. $24.5 million for Medicaid bed day. There was underestimated the number of days by almost 78,000 days. So it was quite a difference, which added to that. In addition, after the governor sent us the proposed budget, the administration asked us to put $10 million into DEWA. They were going to wait till the FY26 budget, and they asked to do it in FY25 for provider stabilization grants for a bunch of health organizations, including federally qualified health centers, substance use residential treatment facilities, residential mental health providers, and others. So that's in the one-time section of the budget that we sent you. We also put some language in there about the people who are applying for these grants, the 10 million in grants, need to have a sustainability plan and prove that they need the money. So we have a little bit of guardrails around that. You probably have heard about the section 23 of the budget, B318, the Child Development Division. There were 2 changes that happened there. Have you talked that one to death, or do you want me to explain that?
It's the $213 million.
The $213 million. Are you clear on that, or do you need me to say anything about that?
I think we're clear, but unless people want to
I would like to hear what, if any, discussion there was about the interplay between that and the budget, the CC.
the big bill.
You mean the FY26 budget?
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Okay.
We dealt with this, and we got the 26 budget like 2 days before we closed out on this. So we dealt with this one, and then we're going to be dealing with it in FY '26.
Okay.
But what we did do, in addition to the 213s, one was a utilization issue, is we were talking about setting up a special caseload fund, and then Adam Gresham called from Finance and Management and said, why don't you use the human case, I keep calling it the wrong thing, Human Services Caseload Reserve Fund, which has about $94.5 million in it, and we could just add them to the list of approved places that can draw from that based on utilization. So there's language in the budget around that. And then the other 13 million was because the consensus revenue forecast came in higher, and so they felt that using that money instead of general fund, and that we should be fine. We put in language, intent language about possibly having a revenue stabilization reserve fund within the child care special fund. We did not create one, we just had intent language, so you'll see that in the budget adjustment. Okay, so that's child care. The Veterans Home had a lot of money, almost $10 million. They run 2 years behind, and they've been using for years, they've been kind of asked to use the budget adjustment as their truing up tool to the tune of millions of dollars. And last year, once our committee really started to understand that, we said, okay, no more after this year. You need to put in the same, we talked to Finance and Management about this too. You need to put in the amount you really think you're going to get and not use budget adjustment as a budgeting tool. And so they understood. So this was supposed to be the last year of this really big, many millions of dollars in the budget adjustment. And so we may see their budget, we haven't gotten them in yet, for FY '26 be a lot higher as a result of that, because it's got to take
This year we'll do a BA and big bill.
Right, and then it should just be in the big bill from then on. I don't know if Senator Brandon, you remember that conversation a little bit that we had last year?
A little bit.
Yeah, so we're trying to make sure that happens. I talked about the provider stabilization grant. One of the more, the thing that the governor's office didn't like, I read the honorable Dear Jane memorial letter, now Dear Andy.
Yeah, I'm hoping we continue to call it Dear Jane.
Yeah, that's what we all know it as, so it needs to stay. But so we didn't transfer the $14 million of general fund back to the treasurer's office. So 3 years ago, this body decided to put, I think at the behest of the governor at the time, 20 million general fund into the treasurer's office for the purpose of buying down debt early to save money. Well, it turned out that they make more money on the interest than buying down any debt, and it doesn't affect the credit rating or any of those things. It's such a small amount. So last year after the flooding, the Joint Fiscal Committee, the E-Board, I guess, in July, agreed to transfer this 14 million over to the administration, 7 million for manufactured home rapid response related to flooding, and then the other for the BGAP loan program, with the stipulation that the money get transferred back to the treasurer's office. So that's what the governor was doing, what he'd been asked by the board. However, we felt that it could be used in different ways, and we actually asked the treasurer to come in and talk to us about it. And then I followed up and asked him if he would write a memo about the impact this would have. And Aaron has sent it, and it's on your committee page as well. But just so you know, can I just read just one little paragraph from the treasurer? The 20 million was a one-time, out of the ordinary proposed buy down of our outstanding bonds, and if the funds are used for an alternative purpose, the state's outstanding bonds will continue to be paid down in the normal course. Using the bonds for an alternative purpose would have no impact on the state's credit rating. Likewise, there is no obligation to replace these funds in the future because there is no obligation to redeem bonds early. So.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're going to ask the same question I was going to ask, but go ahead.
I think it would be more authoritative.
Did you look at reverting more than the 14 million? Because the whole 20 million is there.
Right. So the 14 was just in the part, we didn't look at more than that because it was part of the budget adjustment, and so we were just moving that. I know, so 20 million minus 14, there was 6 million left. The treasurer is proposing to use 1 million for the undue medical debt to help people with medical debt, which leaves him with 5 million. So there's still 5 million in the treasurer's office, as far as we know.
Senator Brew.
And that was my math too. And when the treasurer's office came in, I asked them, were they going to use it going forward for the bonding, and they said no.
Okay,
So it seems to me that that should come back to
yeah, should be available money.
general fund.
We appreciate it.
So instead of using the 14 million to just go back and sit in the treasurer's savings account, we propose to use 8.6 million to Vermont Housing Conservation Board to help with their pipeline of projects. Through the end of this fiscal year, they have 40 million in projects that they could fund if they had the money to do that. And this, between this and about 13 million that they still haven't actually gotten out the door, this will help fund about 50% of their current fiscal year projects. 2.8 million to complete the third project of the Act 186 pilot program, where we gave money for 3 housing projects for individuals with developmental disabilities.
Mhm.
And so the other 2 are done or almost done, and this is the last one. It's on St. Paul Street in Burlington. Champlain Housing Trust can show you the design. I've seen it, and so this 2.8 will go a long way to help them finish up that third project. 1.84 million to extend the emergency general assistance cold weather rules to June 30th. That's a lot less money than we spent last year on when the governor did these 3 impromptu, not so impromptu, but sort of emergency shelters for millions of dollars that a few people used and not many because they were not in great locations. So this seemed to be a more efficient use of funds than that. And then finally, 850,000 to judiciary to repurpose a reversion. They thought if they reverted the money that they'd get it back again to use it for what they needed to for network upgrades and security upgrades, and 50,000 for accessible bathroom right near the Essex courthouse. And they didn't get that, so we're using the last 850 to fund those things. The property transfer tax, I'm moving on now to section D100 or section 51.
Where did that, the IT for judiciary?
I think it's later on in the 70s somewhere. I think it's near the end of the bill. But I just wanted to mention the 14 all at once so you knew.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to find it. Is it that on the sheet?
It should be. I'm not sure what you're looking
Yeah, in
at,
that
but
area, yeah.
I'll wait too. Did you find it?
I can see it on here unless I'm just not reading it correctly.
Somewhere I have that.
But that's
It's
okay.
under the one-time adjustment.
Oh, maybe, one time further up.
850 would be like a 0, 850. Right?
It might be an 800 and a 50
It's in the
also.
language,
Oh, okay.
and there's
Yeah.
a reversion, yeah.
Okay.
Right,
So
the
that's
reversion
why
is in one place and the language
Right,
is
right.
near the end of the bill.
Okay.
So the property transfer tax, there were two things that happened last year. There was Act 181, which was the housing bill, and then the budget itself, the big bill, which was I think Act 113. Each had different descriptions of how the extra property transfer taxes, we changed the rules on, getting more property transfer tax, and how that extra money was going to be allocated between the regional planning commissions, the municipal and regional planning, in the planning fund, and then the Vermont Center for Geographic Information. So it wasn't done clearly, so we agreed that really we wanted to, because Act 181, I'm not sure that the money actually happened in that bill, but it happened in 113 in the big bill. So we used the percentages for that extra money that was as defined in the big bill. And I think Indy, you, Senator Pritchett, we have a chart somewhere that shows that.
Yeah.
There's one on our committee page also if you need to see how the $3.4 million. By statute, 30% goes to the Department of Health Substance Use Program. So you'll see an additional 1.025 million going there. On the downside, we're transferring less money from both sports wagering and Department of Liquor. because, for two reasons. So almost 900,000 in sports wagering because there've been more winners than had been projected. More people were winning payouts, which means less coming to the state. And on the liquor side, they've had a deficit in the liquor control fund for years that sort of just recently came to light because we were transferring a specific dollar amount each year to the general fund without fully accounting for increased expenses there. In addition to that, liquor sales are down. Cannabis sales are up, liquor sales are down. That's not unusual. Okay, you know what reversions are. We added one position at the Attorney General's office and then converted 8 limited service positions to what's called exempt permanent at the Defender General's office. And by statute, all the Defender General positions need to be exempt. So we asked about that, classified versus exempt. Again, some minor things I'm just trying to see. We added language to allow participants in the rental housing revolving loan fund to increase the rent by more than 3% if circumstances warranted. Sometimes the 3% has been holding people back and they aren't able to make the repairs and do the things that they need to do. So VHFA may have also requested that language. We talked about the Human Services Caseload Reserve. Adult learning. The language that took us several years to put together and get in the budget last year is working. That has been the good news. And so the governor put more in to cover the right number of students and all of that. However, we discovered a glitch in the transition from the old high school completion program, which has gone away, to the new adult diploma program. The language, so there were 120 students who did high school completion, and then it went away and they didn't get their degrees and their diplomas. So they were sort of caught in this, no man's land. And so we put language in the budget adjustment to ensure that the students who met the requirements of the old program get a diploma so they can graduate and go get jobs. So that was happy to know about. We also, in Section 84, are requiring DCF to fully utilize the state's allocation of discretionary exemptions from SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, so families will continue to get food benefits. So right now, and I may not explain this very well, I guess every 30 days or 90 days, they have to reapply to make sure that they qualify, and it's a complicated piece, and sometimes if they don't have everything exactly right, they stop getting benefits for a month, so they're losing out on their ability to buy food. We have 29,000 30-day vouchers for families that are federally funded, and they're just sitting there not being used by DCF, and they all go away October 1st in the new federal fiscal year. So there's nothing to be gained by hanging on to them and a lot to be gained by using them. It doesn't cost us anything, and so yeah, so we want them to use those when they're as eligible, use the eligibility requirements, take advantage of this thing that we have. And then Section 88 is the language for the general assistance emergency housing. It doesn't change eligibility, it just changes date. So it's actually not a very big looking section, but the effect is to carry it with the same rules through June 30th. So that's sort of the main stuff. If there's something that I didn't touch on that you're interested in, I'm happy to.
I think you were able to take more tested money on the service level agreements, and now we saw that over and over again.
Yes.
You feel like you didn't put any changes in there?
We didn't put anything in. There was nothing to put in. We did have the secretary of ADS come in as well, and then Representative Harrison, who has that budget, also had some meetings. They're charging agencies and departments like 6 to 12 months in arrears, maybe more than that, or maybe more than that, might be at least 12 months in arrears. And so this part of a new program that they're trying to implement is going to get it up to real time. And so it's Agency of Human Services was particularly hit hard. There was about $2.5 million total of these increases to the service level agreement, much of which was in human services. So that, and actually one of the big ones that turned out they were able to fix it, but when the state's attorney's office came in, they said, we're gonna be hit with $405,000 in service level agreement. They called us because we have all this storage, because we have all these body cameras now, we have to store all the film, and their storage was going through the roof, and I think they found a solution. So it went from 405,000 to 191 or something like that. So they were able to find another solution, but we were not happy with the service level agreement. There's not much we could do about it, and they aren't happy with it either, but they're working on a solution to deal with that.
Yeah, because we heard the limited testimony tech was, AHS was, not AHS, ADS was saying, well, if you need to know the specifics, ask the individual departments or agencies, and when we ask them, they would say, we don't know, go ask agencies.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the way their system tracks usage, and that's what needs to
And
change.
just so similar to the veterans home, we're hoping not to do it in the
Yes.
VA.
Exactly. But it'll be painful until we get to that spot.
Any other questions or any questions for Chair Shannon? Yes.
I can't remember now, and you might have just said this, but in the GA program, is there language in addition to the 1 point?
There's just a little bit of language at the end in section 88, and we didn't change the eligibility, we didn't change anything except the dates. So it doesn't really look like very much.
I see.
Because the rest of it's all staying the same, we just changed the dates.
Right, just crossed out March 31st and put in June 3rd.
Yeah, that's basically what it said. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I assume that'll be a larger discussion in Bixville.
Yes, and it's my understanding that House Human Services is looking at trying to find another solution. I mean, I think we can all agree none of us like this program. We don't want to have this program. We need to have something that's a longer-term sustainable solution. And so I think they're spending some time working on that now. And I'll be in regular touch with that chair about that.
Okay, great. Okay, if we don't have any questions, we can go back to working on the FY26.
Yes, all right, I'll switch gears. All right,
We
nice to
appreciate
see you all.
coming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you.
If
If you see anybody that might be the treasurer out there,
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're.
Guys on TV now?
Yeah,
I do have Peter on Zoom, he's advisor,
okay.
not on yet.
Well, if it's not out in the hallway coming right in, maybe we'll adjourn for 5 minutes.
Nice.